It all began the night we moved into the house we thought was perfect. A quiet street, a little garden out back, and just enough space for my girlfriend, our rescued cat Bella, and me to finally feel settled. Everything looked like the dream we had worked for, except for the house next door. To our right stood an abandoned property, its renovation long forgotten. Half-finished fencing, empty windows like hollow eyes, and a backyard that bled directly into ours. No boundary, no separation, just an opening large enough for anyone or anything to wander through. First, we didn't care. It was just an empty shell of a house, a neighborless neighbor. But on our very first night, we noticed him. We were sitting in our garden, talking under the stars, when I glanced up at the back row of houses. A man stood in one of the windows. He wasn't hiding, wasn't embarrassed to be caught. He just stared. His face was blank, drained of emotion. The room behind him was unlit, making his pale expression float like a mask in the dark. We laughed it off, pretending it was just curiosity over the new neighbors. But half an hour passed. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't leave. That cold stare burrowed into us until we finally went inside. The next few days were uneventful. We unpacked, I went to work, and life seemed normal again, until the night the fence moved. It was late, and we were back in the garden when the wooden panel between our yard and the abandoned house scraped open. 3 men stepped through. They didn't say a word. They didn't smile. They just stood there, staring at us, as if waiting for permission. One, who couldn't have been older than 30, held a large duffel bag. He opened it slightly and asked if we wanted some washing up tablets, obviously stolen. His casual tone made the scene even more disturbing. I tried to joke about it just to break the tension, and he finally smirked before they left. But the part that chilled me most wasn't the offer. It was the way they walked into our garden as though it belonged to them. From then on, they began appearing more often, drifting in and out of the abandoned house, using our garden like it was a shortcut, watching us in silence, letting us feel their presence without speaking. The intimidation was deliberate, and it worked. My girlfriend and I are only 20, and the thought that we were being sized up, tested, hung over every evening. One afternoon, while I was cleaning the front room, 2 police officers slipped through the abandoned yard. They lifted the fence, looked around for a while, then left without a word. No explanation, no knock at our door, just quiet suspicion. A few days later, we finally got answers. The police returned, this time to us. The men in the house behind had been evicted for antisocial behavior. They'd harassed other neighbors, too. We were relieved, though the relief was thin, because even with them gone, the fear they'd planted didn't leave. That's when things got worse. One evening, while I was in the bath, a loud thud shook the house. I scrambled out, dripping water, and found my girlfriend in the spare bedroom, phone in hand, recording. Outside, in the garden of the now empty house, a stranger stood pointing up at our window. The moment he realized she was watching, he sprinted, full speed, toward our back door. He yanked at the handle as he passed, then vanished back into the abandoned yard. Seconds later, he was pounding on the empty house's windows like an animal trying to break in. We called the police immediately. They came, watched the video, nodded grimly, and left. Their calmness didn't reassure us. If anything, it felt like they knew this wasn't over. That night, at exactly 2:16 a.m., the whistling started, the kind of low, mocking whistle men used to get a woman's attention. My blood ran cold. Then came the tapping, slow, deliberate, on our bedroom window. When we checked the cameras, nothing was recorded. No evidence, as though whoever it was knew exactly where the blind spots were. The next morning, our Ring doorbell was gone, plucked off the wall and left on the ground. The SD card was missing. Whoever was taunting us wanted us blind. When we reported it, the policewoman's words only deepened our dread. Sometimes, they remove cameras when they're planning something. The nights after that blurred into a cycle of whistling, banging, and silence. Each time we thought it had ended, it came back worse. Until the night we saw him. On the live feed of our camera, a man stood in our front garden, mask covering his face, hood pulled up, his arms stretched out wide like a crucifix. He tilted his head back and stared up at our window, not moving, not speaking, just existing as a nightmare made flesh. We froze. By the time we thought to hit record, he had already walked away, crossed the street, and stood under a lamppost, watching, waiting. For half an hour, he never looked away from our house. The police said there was nothing they could do. It's not illegal to stare, they told us. But it wasn't just staring. It was a game, a performance meant to break us. The final straw came weeks later, almost 3 a.m. when we got a motion alert. My girlfriend checked the feed, and there they were, 2 masked men creeping along the side of our house. One shined a flashlight into our windows, the other gripped a crowbar in his hand. We watched, frozen, as they circled like predators testing a cage. We didn't move, didn't breathe, until finally they disappeared back into the dark. Since then, they return in smaller ways, standing across the street, pointing, whispering, sometimes waving, always watching. The police call it harassment. We call it terror, because every night when the clock strikes 2, every creak, every whistle, every shadow outside feels like the beginning of something we won't survive. And as I write this now, I can feel them again, just across the street, staring, waiting,